said, hey, you know what? I know how to make cookies. And that's what I did. I actually baked cookies and I sat on my porch and sold cookies and lemonade until I made enough money to earn my first bite. I've developed services that can help someone who is a startup and they have very little bookkeeping and accounting that needs to be done,
Hmm.
all the way up to somebody who's got very complex bookkeeping and accounting, looking for outsourced CFO or controller.
Welcome to the EMP podcast where hustle meets strategy. Yours truly, your host JP and PJ. We got a special guest today. She's experienced, skilled accountant, and passionate about entrepreneurs. Mainly her expertise, or she's a bookkeeping, and she's the CEO of Advanced Bookkeeping Concepts. Um, She has a background in business administration with a concentration in accounting and finance, and professional certifications in grant management, budgeting, forensic accounting, business valuation. She's also licensed in California as a life insurance, annuities, disability, living benefits, and long term care. She's a mom of two amazing children, and I know her personally. She's just all the way around incredible. So let me welcome to our podcast, Jennine Morel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's that weather out there in California?
Well, actually, it's normally sunny California, but today it's actually a little overcast and cloudy.
Oh yeah,
It's all good though. We need the cool weather. I'm tired of the summer. I'm done. I'm ready for pumpkin spice everything.
pumpkin spice. Ooh, that sounds so good right now. And it's fall time, so that is the time where you bring out those pumpkins and stuff. So
Hmm.
let's get right into it. Let's who was Janine before uh you got into accounting, or is that your first area of expertise you've encountered then when you were growing up, your teenage years to
It is
college?
not my first area of expertise. And before I proceed, how's my volume? Can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you're
we can.
good. You're good on our end.
You're good on our end, but we're gonna have to increase your volume a little bit when we're editing. But you're good.
Okay, just wanted to know if I need to turn the volume up or anything. So sometimes it does come across a little bit low. But anyway, I mean, as far as like an entrepreneur or business person, or how far back would you like me to go with my career or entrepreneurial experience?
Well, let's
Preferably
what,
after let's start in the beginning, before high
yes,
school, and then let's go on
yeah.
forward.
Where did it start?
When did I start? What I like to tell people when I'm telling this funny story is I tell people that I've been an entrepreneur since I was 5 years old. And I jokingly say this because I was watching some friends of mine when I was very young. They were cruising up and down the street, and I was sitting on the porch hanging out with my mom, and they were riding bikes. And I told my mom, hey, I want a bike. And she looked at me and she said, well, how are you going to get one?
Mm, that got your creative juices flowing already, huh?
Yes, exactly. And so, I said, hey, you know what? I know how to make cookies. And that's what I did. I actually baked cookies and I sat on my porch and sold cookies and lemonade until I made enough money to earn my first bite.
Wow.
From there, I started babysitting. I had my own book of babysitting clients starting at 11 years old, and I did that all the way through high school. I also started doing house cleaning because you one person finds out about you and they start telling their friends. So I did house cleaning and babysitting.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I moved out here to California, I decided to go to school for architecture and architectural engineering. But while I was going to school, I also did sewing and I did more house cleaning. I actually did meal prep and meal planning. And had I known what I was actually doing at the time, I probably would have left school and just focused on being an entrepreneur. But it had been very firmly ingrained in me that I was supposed to go to school and get a degree and afterwards get a job, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Right.
Um, but honestly, that's one of the ways that I put myself through school while I was getting my degree in architecture was through houses, sewing, doing right, making costumes, and then I actually got into learning how to do taxes, and that was my first introduction to finance and accounting. And I figured, hey, this isn't so bad. I can do this. And once people learned that I knew how to do taxes, then folks started to ask me to do that for them. And I actually, did a little bit of working on that on the side while I was an engineer consistently. And then at one point in time, for a little while, I did have a catering business with a friend of mine, and we did that for many years. Um, and so my business experience and entrepreneurial experience has grown over the years. I've learned a lot, and then for a very long period of time, I worked with an organization that helps women to start businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I started taking all of the workshops and got really excited about learning more about business, and especially in the realm of helping business owners to understand their finances, which led me to leave my career in engineering
Mm-hmm.
and go back to school and get my degree in accounting and finance. And one of the things that I've always been passionate about is helping, small business owners, helping startups, helping them with their financials, helping them understand how to read their financial statements, and, basically helping them with overall great business success.
Yes, that
So
is.
a lot of verbiage to basically say I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and I love what I do, and I love helping business owners.
Okay, what's the worst thing about being in the accounting and finance industry?
Especially
I
with
would.
startups.
I'm sorry.
Especially with startups.
Well, that's a multifaceted question and answer. So the thing about startups is they're not ready most of the time for anything.
They don't have any money, huh?
Well, they don't have any money, and um, they have very fantastic ideas about what business life is supposed to be like because they're following all of these social media influencers, especially now. I think maybe before social media was such a big thing, I think people had a little bit more realistic expectations when it came to being in business because maybe you knew someone who was in business and they took you under their wing, or there was an apprenticeship or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
But with social media and all of the, quick fix videos, I'll make you a millionaire overnight. I think it really sets the expectation that being in business is going to be super easy and everything is going to fall into place magically.
Yeah, it's not that
Yeah,
easy.
it's
Uh,
always a
no,
cluster.
and and just like with your experience here this morning, I mean, there's always going to be bumps in the road, technical difficulties, things that don't manifest the way that you want them to, and in the world of business entrepreneurship, regardless, whichever direction that you're trying to go, whatever industry you're focused on, you're going to run into challenges.
Yeah.
And to answer Jonathan's question, his question was like, "What is the I don't?" He said, "What is the worst thing about entrepreneurship?"
Well, no, I was asking in pertaining to your
Accounting.
pertaining to your industry.
Oh, okay. So pertaining to accounting, I think one of the worst things about accounting is that the rest of the world doesn't really understand or appreciate what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I very commonly have heard me called and referred to as a data entry clerk.
Ooh.
And it kind of gets me upset because I'm so far beyond a data entry clerk. So,
Wow, wow.
that
That's
kind of
very
gets
that's
my
very
that kind of gets
disrespectful.
me upset.
That sounds very disrespectful.
It is
Just limiting you to a data collector or
a data entry clerk. Like,
entry clerk. Yeah.
Are these startups that are saying that?
oh, it's startups and existing businesses. Actually, it's all across the board. And what really troublesome businesses that are in business for many years, making really good money, and then really devaluing what an accountant or a bookkeeper does.
I was going to go off topic. You know how relationships they
I
be like, "What do you
I
bring to
know.
the table?" So what do you bring to the table when it
No. I was gonna the one thing I remembered. Have you seen Elon firing people?
No, I haven't seen it, but I've heard, and
Right.
we already know there's
I didn't get
somebody
that.
who's
Could you
in
try again?
the news all the time that's firing everybody left and right.
Right. So when he said that, I was like, you have 48 hours to explain to me what you do. No, that's like the first thing I remembered when he said
That's
that.
funny.
But so there seems like there's a lack of communication of what value you bring to the companies. When
Absolutely.
so let's talk about that, because if I was a client and said, well, you know, you're just a data clerk or
You're
something.
just a
How
data entry clerk. What I hear is you're just a data entry clerk. It's not that hard.
right.
What is it that you do all day? What, you just plug in numbers into the computer and you're just typing keys all day, right?
Okay, so when they do that, let's see your response in real time. How do you overcome that objection and show them your real value?
One of the things that I like to say is that yes, I am analyzing a lot of data, and it is required that somebody click on some keys to get that information into what normally is either like a spreadsheet or an accounting software, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in their mind, what I think, I don't know, so I'm just gonna speculate here, but I think in their mind, all I do is I see the bank transactions and I say, oh, this is that, and that. Well, that is that is true. I do look at a lot of that. But the thing is that that's just raw data.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I'm plugging all of this information in, and then it creates something for you that you can actually use about information about your business. And so I ask people, do you know how much you generated in revenues this year?
Okay.
And they'll say, um, well, yeah, I kind of know. And I think this is the situation for a lot of business owners is because they are really not hands on with what's going on day to day with their numbers. They have a running balance in their head,
Mm-hmm.
but the human mind is as amazing as wonderful it can only hold so much information at a time, and it's not the same as being able to see a full financial statement of all your money in and all your money out and the balance of everything at the end of the day in order for it to be able to tell a story about your business. And
And,
so what I ask people is, do you know what the story that your financials tell about your business? Are you
mm,
succeeding? Are you going to make it next year? Can you hire? Do you want to hire? Do you need a loan? Um, are you going to grow and maybe purchase some equipment? And then another conversation I have with people is, if you imagine that the IRS did not exist,
mm.
would there be a reason for me to be in existence or help you out as a bookkeeper or an accounting professional? And this question usually gives people a moment to pause, because a lot of people are very compliance driven or tax write off driven, or can I write this off? Can I write this off? And
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, let's just pretend for a minute that the IRS no longer exists.
Okay.
Let that sit and sink in for a moment. If the IRS no longer exists, what is the purpose or point of having a bookkeeper or an accountant?
Well, I mean, you need your books
You
balanced.
you already know the
You
answer,
know.
Jonathan, but a lot of people probably, that would give them a few minutes just to chew on something, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of, especially with startups, all of their thinking is, can I write this off? Can you save taxes for me? And
Mm.
that's not the only reason why businesses are in business.
Right. Because I
And
mean,
normally
yeah,
we're in business
to
to
profit.
support ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
support our families, support our employees, maybe make an impact on society, right? And have longevity and legacy.
Here's a simple question to ask startups, because to my understanding, you do all their financials and take care of everything financials related.
When it comes to the accounting
When it
and,
comes to
and the
accounting,
booking
right?
keeping
Yeah.
aspect, right? Yeah.
Ask
Yep.
them this question: um, can you fundraise without me? If I didn't have all your financials in order, would a VC or an angel invest into you without me? And
That's a great
that
question.
that will put into perspective of how much they actually need you, because if their financials aren't in order, that's the first thing a VC will
That's
look into, or an angel will look into, right after they say, okay, your idea looks good. Now let's do due diligence.
right,
So
exactly.
if once you ask them that, they'll be like, okay, can I do this by myself? The answer is going to be no 90% of the time.
And that's where
And
you come in
if you've
place.
ever watched any episode of Shark Tank, people are expected to come in there and know their numbers, right?
Mm.
Well, so startups on a normal basis aren't like Shark Tank though. Like I have
Of
one,
course not. That's
right?
just an extreme
And
example.
and if you go back and watch what Kevin O'Leary says on a couple podcasts, it's gotten to the point. Not even that. Even Mark has said, hey, you know, say, people have gotten down to the point, they've seen all the episodes, they know exactly what to do, exactly what to say to get them interested. But the moment they get to the numbers, 90% of the contestants drop out because they don't have good financials status in order.
Yep.
So if you simply just ask them that one question, would you survive a fundraise without me? Most of the time, they would say, I wouldn't survive, because you need your financials in order. Because that's the first thing they're looking at. Because
Absolutely.
that's the first thing I look at.
Are you fundable?
Yep.
What and so once you get past that, and able to actually help these businesses out, first, uh, tell me what your ideal client looks like, and then the next question following that, um, what's the most rewarding part about working with these business owners? So it's a two-part question. Number one, tell me, who is your ideal client that you serve, and then when you serve them, tell me the most rewarding part about you helping them with your area of expertise and skill sets.
Now, when you say my ideal client, are you talking about industry or personal characteristics? Because I can
More
more than likely it's personal characteristics over industry. Although there are industries I prefer to work with,
okay.
but as far as a business owner and who they are and their personality, my ideal client is an individual who is very invested in the growth of their business, in the health of their business,
Mm-hmm.
asks great questions, is really ready to engage and be a part of it, even if they're not in the day to day. They're very interested. They do their due diligence to follow up with questions for me. They'll make the time to sit down and review their financials. Just really overall a personality that is really interested in the health and growth of their business. As
Nice.
far as industries,
Yeah, industry.
my ideal client are in multi-family residential and or commercial real estate, property management, property investment. And then in addition to that, I also like working with professional private practice, either in medical or non-medical, such as chiropractors, dental hygienists, dental assistant. I mean, sorry, not dental assistants, dentists, but
Mm-hmm.
in the massage therapists, estheticians, but also architectural or engineering.
And then what's the size of these companies? Is it 1 to 5 employees, or up to like 5 to 100 employees?
Um, Normally, when we're talking about someone who's looking for an outsourced bookkeeping solution,
Mm-hmm.
that as far as employees, normally that's probably less than 50 employees, give or take, somewhere around there, because somewhere once they get over that size, they probably have a staff person who's doing the accounting. But there's still options for me to assist them in a different capacity. And
Mm-hmm.
then the other thing too is when we're talking about my ideal client, it also hinges on the different ways that I can assist them and the services that I can provide to them. So I've developed services that can help someone who is a startup and they have very little bookkeeping accounting that needs to be done,
Mm-hmm.
all the way up to somebody who's got very complex bookkeeping and accounting, looking for outsourced CFO or controller. So
So now to that second part of the question, what's the most rewarding part of getting into the nitty gritty, into these businesses, the financials, and then next, how you're able to showcase your skill sets. So tell me about that.
I think one of the most rewarding things, and I'll give you an example. I had a client that I was working with, and we were doing what I call bookkeeping coaching,
Mm-hmm.
where we work one on one together to get their books completed or cleaned up. And she was all super excited after we got all of everything completed. I got all the categorizing done correctly, and I looked at her profit and loss statement, and she's like, I have a pretty profit and loss statement. I'm going to hang this one on the fridge for my mom. So, um, what I like, what's really rewarding, is when a client is really fully engaged with the progress,
Mm-hmm.
and they're excited about now being able to see what the numbers are. They can make decisions. They can decide if they need to call in an investor, as you mentioned, or if they're making the income that they need to. If now they need to really implement a new marketing strategy, if they need to, branch out and form other relationships, are they on track to hit their revenue goals? What really is um, meaningful to me is that I have fulfilled my mission in helping the client understand how well their business is doing.
And that's the ultimate goal that you want to accomplish with these people when you are onboarding a client or doing your consultative work on the front end, right?
I think that's a huge part of it. I mean, getting them ready for taxes and feeling that they've got accurate information to, provide for tax returns is great, because then that also alleviates a lot of stress and anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also really gratifying as well.
So I do have a question when it comes to your ideal client. I know you said you like more medical and structurized clients. Is there a reason why you don't have any technical startups, like tech startups, by any chance?
No one in tech startup has ever reached out to me, to be honest with you.
Is that so? Really?
And so, and when you're saying tech startup, maybe you and I are not speaking the same language, but no one in a tech startup has ever asked me for bookkeeping or accounting support. I just have never run into one.
Hmm. Well, that's the thing about the EMP. We bridge the gaps too because PJ, I have him by 20 years, and I'm only 37, 38. I'll be 38 coming up
Close
soon.
enough. Close enough.
Anyways, though, but you have me by a little bit, and so the thing is the miscommunication aspect and stuff. We bridge the gaps as well. So, PJ, explain yourself. You know,
So
to her or
when I
elaborate a little
mean
bit.
tech startups, I mean like the up and coming startups. Like as of now, like we have.
And she's out in California too, so I mean,
Where in Cali are you, by the way?
I'm in Southern California, about 60 miles inland from Los Angeles in San Bernardino County.
You're in like prime startup region for tech, but so like I mean like tech startups in the basis of like the AIs, the SaaS companies, things like that. Because I feel like when I look into the SaaS companies numbers, those are the ones that are like the most messed up. Like their bookkeeping isn't done. None of that's done. Like for a lot of the startups, if you can figure out a fair
I would love
price,
to get in front of them, because it sounds like something I could be of great value to.
because if you can, we're also tech startups that are like looking to fundraise because a lot of the tech startups I look at now,
mm-hmm.
they're not generalized purely in California, but across the world. Um, a lot of the startups that I work with that I try to get money, a lot of their financial statements are, to be forsaken. They're shit.
I knew you
Much,
was gonna
much
say
left to
that.
be desired.
What's up?
Much left to be desired.
Well, it's not even that. Like when I look at it, I'm like, what am I looking at? Like I go compare it to one that's actually done properly versus one that the founder did. There's like a discontinuum between them. I'm like,
It's like
what
night
am I
and day.
reading?
Exactly.
So
And it's not just a, trust me, it's all across the board. It's everybody.
and I'm like, because so for my financial statements, one of my friends, she's been doing financial stuff since she was 14, and she's been helping me get startups into my pipeline and things like that because I help startups get money. But whenever I go look at their pitch decks, and then the pitch deck good, data room, what the hell is going on here? Especially when it comes data to financials and numbers, I'm like, what am I looking at? Because then I go look at mine, and I'm like, okay, this is good. Because she built it for me. She's been doing that since she was a while. She did it for free. And I'm like, what am I looking at here? I know you can't see my hands, but
No, I can see your hands.
just assume that I'm like, there's a difference. So if you can like figure out a price range that you can just clean up everyone's books.
Oh,
And
she
just have that as a
yeah, she definitely has
I
different
I have services, and
yeah.
so it's, and I'm not going to talk about price here, but what I will tell you, it's based on a few things. So how I price things can vary. I do have a pricing strategy and a pricing structure that takes in multiple different things into consideration. And like I
Mhm.
said, I do have options available for those who are fairly willing to be hands-on, because the bookkeeping could possibly be pretty easy. Like, maybe up to 50, maybe 100 transactions a month, and they've got to be willing to be hands on.
Mhm.
And so that's my lowest point entry with a membership that I'm building. And from there, then we go on to what, either done with you bookkeeping services or done for you bookkeeping services. So, I do have a variety of ways to get to the end goal. Just it varies on their level of commitment and willingness to be a part of it.
yeah. If you're honestly looking for more clients, I would go look into like uh, I wouldn't look so for you specifically. I wouldn't look into pre-seed startups because they won't pay you. I can tell you that right now.
Well,
Um,
she's did a lot of in her background too. She's did a lot of nonprofit work as well.
I worked with a nonprofit for over 20 years.
Mhm.
but so for the pre-seed ones, they're gonna get the raise off whether they have financials like bookkeeping or not. So
Hmm.
you helping them, it won't make or break the fundraise. But for a seed or Series A company, it makes or breaks the fundraise. So if their like books are in place for a seed, um, and the investor doesn't have to go scramble around looking for it, if they find all their numbers direct in what they're looking for, that company is more likely to get fundraised than a company that doesn't have their books together. So a lot of the
Hmm.
companies, um, they go to like the bookkeepers that are aligned with people that fundraise a lot, and they literally just get their books done for I don't know what the pricing is because I don't need it. I use my uncle for free. Um, but you know that I would consider looking into that like seed startups or Series A startups because they don't have a bookkeeper on staff, but
Hmm.
they don't outsource it either because they don't think they need it. But if you can convey that you can get them fundraising better because their financials are in order and everything else, you're more likely to get more clients. And if they get
I
fundraised, they
like
stay
that.
on
I
forever.
like that approach.
Because now I don't need it because I just use my uncle. He's an accountant, but not everyone that's fundraising or has bookkeeping has an Indian uncle that will do it for free.
Well, that's why I created the membership.
What program do you have um, for them to get them started?
For a business that has a really low volume of transactions,
Hmm.
I have a membership, monthly membership, where they join and jump in, come into weekly meetings, and I will guide them to basically how to do their bookkeeping themselves. And
Hmm.
then on a quarterly basis, I'll review their financial statements for them, provide them with a little bit of a discourse and a recorded video on how things look, give them
Mm-hmm.
some suggestions and guidance. And there's a few other things that come included with the membership, but it's like I said, it's a very low point of entry.
Mm-hmm.
It's less than $200 a month, and it helps them start understanding how to put this information together to create financial statements for themselves.
And where can people find your information and get a hold of you?
I have I can provide a link that can get them onto my calendar to get on a call to make sure that this is something that'll work for them. I'm happy to provide that calendar link or QR code, or I actually have a flyer. I think I shared the flyer with you already, Jonathan, but I can share it again.
Sure, yeah, we'll put that flyer in the post on our YouTube channel, and we'll actually put that flyer out on our different social media platforms along with that link, your Calendly link. We will put
My
that in the
Calendly link, yeah.
yes,
I
we'll
wanted to add something else too, because a lot of times, one of the things that I've been helping business owners, startup business owners with for many, many years
mm-hmm,
is writing their business plan and developing those financials that they would need for someone that is like what you're calling pre-seed.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of times there are folks that they don't know how to create a pitch deck because they don't know how to write a business plan or turn a business plan into a pitch deck. And that's something that I've been doing for, give or take about 15 years, is helping pre-starts or pre-seed startups, regardless of what industry, is developing that information so that they can actually have an intelligent conversation with VCs or other investors.
So what is your in this industry, what does the next 5 to 10 years look like for you?
The next 5 to 10 years for me looks like building out a little bit more of what I call managed bookkeeping, building
Mm-hmm.
out the membership, and also growing in advanced advisory services such as, fractional outsource CFO, outsource controller, tax
Nice.
advisory, and tax planning, and then hopefully get to the place where I can hire one or two bookkeepers to do the bookkeeping work for for the managed bookkeeping, and then I can oversee the more in depth budgeting and CFO and controller operations.
So when you look back at your journey, what do you hope your clients, family, and community remember most about you and your impact?
I want to be remembered as somebody who gave them good advice, good direction, was always authentic and valued strong communication. And, like I said before, the health of their business is ultimately right. I want these businesses to succeed and then exit out of business if that's their goal in a fashion that meets their financial expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be remembered as that person that helped get them to achieve their financial goals, or helped keep the doors open, or helped them hire somebody, and then did it in a way that they felt that they were worthy and valuable as well. Treated them with respect.
Now, when you hit obstacles with speaking about mindset purposes, what is one of your practices you do or to help you push forward?
What do I do when I meet obstacles?
Yeah, when you hit an obstacle, dealing with
I
these,
usually get into a tractor and run right over it.
oh, you get in, you get, that's an analogy.
You should see my reaction when she said that. I was like,
You're actually not on the camera.
I'm not.
Well,
Fuck her.
no, you gotta just scoot up a little bit.
I'll live. Yeah, it's fine.
Anyways, his facial expressions was wild. So you basically
I
you
do
get in
have
the
a sense of humor, and I do like to tell jokes. But honestly, I'm a business person just like anybody else, and I am going to hit roadblocks, and I'm going to have days where my mindset is not 100%. But I'll tell you what I do. I'm also very, spiritual. I'm a woman of faith, and I have no
Mhm.
problem sharing that with people. I have a prayer life. I journal. I have a dog, and I take them out for a walk. So And then the other thing too is I have a community or that I'm a part of. I have another accountant who's a mentor, and so when I feel like I have tapped out or I have run up against an obstacle that I'm not sure how to address, I have people that I can reach out to, and then I do engage in things for a healthy mindset, such as journaling, prayer life, getting out and go for a walk out in the real world, things like that.
Hmm. Nice, nice, nice. Because I mean, it's just it's very important as a business owner and being in the bookkeeping and accounting arena. It's definitely tedious work. Looking at every transaction line by line,
It
making sure
is.
the financials is together, the P&L statement, the
It's mentally
forecasting.
draining.
Yeah. So let's transition a little bit on the fun and personal side. What is something, and I'm going into some rapid fire questions to wrap some things up. But so fun and personal side, what is something that, and keep it real short, but what is something that people would be surprised to learn about you?
I'm an artist, and actually, I took some of my art down because I wasn't sure if it was. I had a couple of little pieces of artwork that were behind me.
Okay.
But I do. It's actually I'm picking up and practicing my watercolor. Here's a card I made for a friend.
Nice, nice.
I paint. I draw. One of the things that people probably be surprised about me is one of the fun things that I'll do is I actually do face painting for fun every now and then.
Mm-hmm. Um,
I do. I have a lot of arts and crafts that I enjoy, so that's how I unwind.
that brings you a lot of joy doing the
Oh yes,
artwork
being
and stuff.
creative, making things, teaching, hanging out with family. But I would think that something that people probably would be most surprised about is, like I really do enjoy spending time doing arts and crafts, things like that, but nothing crazy.
Are you a daytime person or a night owl?
Night owl for
Co-
sure. I think it's required in our industry.
So when you say night owl, how late is late?
Next day, 2 a.m. It all depends the time of year and how much needs to get done,
Uh,
whatever the deadlines are. But in all honesty, in the evening when things are quiet and there's no noise outside and things like that, it's actually easier to think and concentrate. So
when it comes
that's
to
really the main reason why I say night owl.
okay, when it comes to personal development or business related, what's the one book that had the greatest impact?
The one book,
Yes, it could be for personal development or on the business side. What would that book be?
I've read a lot of books, but the one that always comes to mind is The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. I go back to that book every now and then.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And then since we have a very wide range of clientele or just people that we reach, what would be the one piece of advice you would give to somebody chasing their dreams?
And can you be a little bit more describing what this dream is? Because you mean educational
it
or business or
it could
just
be
dreams in
honestly
general?
like any dream. Like say they wanted to go to college or they wanted to start a business. Just advice that pushes people forward, kind of thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
encouragement, kind of advice.
Get grounded, like really get real with yourself. Find the ways to get grounded every day. Find a mentor
Okay.
who's been there, who's paved the path before you. Someone who's faced things and obstacles. You really need a mentor. Get a journal and write your experience, document everything that's valuable. A lot of people are afraid that AI is going to take over the world, but what AI can't take over is your story,
Mm.
your experience, and the value you bring to other people. And then the other thing is volunteer. Be willing to give back. Be willing to reach back and help somebody else struggling with their journey.
Wow, that's some great advice. Well, hey, thank you for your time. We have just
You're
had
welcome.
we just had a great time with Jennine Morel, which uh, she's has expertise in accounting, bookkeeping. Yes, like I said, she does have her life insurance. She knows about annuities, disabilities. I will include her information in the description. She's great with the QuickBooks and different accounting softwares, and I'm sure she'll be doing some other workshops and webinars, and you'll see her doing some great work out here to help business owners. But thank you for your time, and that's a wrap.